Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
And the budget will balance itself.
Do I have to sue CNN?
Legacy doesn't mean nothing. I'm gonna die and it's gonna be over.
Welcome, it's Harjedius. So I'm coming off my most successful video released on November 28th titled Joe Rogan on Ancient Indian Architecture. Check it out if you haven't already. And I'm grateful to the reaction to it and I do appreciate it. Well, this generation's Iron Man, Elon Musk, is not only firmly back at the helm at Tesla, but will be leading it far into the future now that his fabulous pay package is approved. On November 6th, a $1 trillion performance-based pay plan was approved for Musk by shareholders. Put simply, anytime a Musk hits a new valuation goal and also captures any one of the dozen operational targets in any order, he receives 35.312 million shares in a Tesla restricted stock, adding to his current stake of almost 16%. The end goal being a $8.5 trillion market cap for Tesla and 424 million shares for himself. Of course, along the way, he gets to smoke as much weed with Joe Rogan and rack up as many baby mamas as he wants. Recently, Elon Musk had a Blockbuster interview with an Indian man who is known for being Indian, Nikhil Kamath, released on November 30th. In it, he released the eye-popping revelation that chances are more likely than not that the life we are experiencing is very likely a simulation that is part of many overlaid simulations. A matrix, you could say. Let's get into it.
You spoke about being in a simulation earlier. I love the Matrix.
Yes.
If you were to be a character from the Matrix, who would you be?
Well, there's not that many characters to pick from, you know. Hopefully not Agent Smith. He's my hero. I mean, Neo's pretty cool. The Architect is interesting.
The Oracle.
It's the Oracle. Sometimes I feel like I'm an anomaly in the Matrix.
That is Neo.
Yeah.
Do you believe you're in a Matrix though? Like actually believe?
I think you have to just think of these things as probabilities, not certainties. There's some probability that we're in a simulation.
What percentage would you attribute to that?
Probably pretty high. I would say it's pretty high.
Yeah?
Yeah. So one way to think of this is to say, if you look at the advancement of video games, in our lifetime, or at least in my lifetime, it's gone from very simple video games where you've got, like Pong, you've got two rectangles and a square, just batting it back and forth, to photorealistic, real-time games with millions of people playing simultaneously. And that's happened just in the span of 50 years. So if that trend continues, video games will be indistinguishable from reality.
Right.
And we're also going to have very intelligent characters, like non-player characters in these video games. Think of how sophisticated the conversations are you can have with an AI today, and that's only going to get more sophisticated. You'll be able to have conversations that are more complex and more sophisticated than almost any human conversation. Maybe any. So then the future, if civilization continues, will be millions, maybe billions of photorealistic, like indistinguishable from reality video games, and with characters in those video games that are very deep, and where the dialogue is not pre-programmed. That's for sure what's going to happen in this level of the simulation, if you could call it. So then what are the odds that we're in base reality, and that this has not happened before?
If I were to buy into that and assume that we are in a simulation, as Neo of the story, what do you know that I don't and I can learn from?
I think most likely, if outside the simulation would be less interesting than in the simulation, because we're most likely a distillation of what's interesting, because that's what we do that's what we do in our reality. And then I do also have a theory, which is like the most interesting outcome is the most likely outcome, as seen by a third party, the gods or god of the simulation. Because when we do simulations, when humans do simulations, we stop those simulations that are not interesting. So like if SpaceX is doing simulations of rocket flights, the boring ones we discard because they're just not, we don't learn anything from those. Or when Tesla is doing simulations for self-driving, Tesla's actually looking for the most interesting corner cases, because the normal stuff we already have plenty of data on, driving on a straight road on a sunny day. We don't need more of that. We need like heavy weather conditions on a small windy road with two cars that are, coming at each other with a almost head-on collision. We need like weird stuff, basically, interesting stuff. So I think that from a Darwinian perspective, the simulations most likely to survive are going to be the ones that are the most interesting simulations, which therefore means that the most interesting outcome is the most likely.
And the people who simulated our world, if one were to extrapolate, they themselves might in turn be in another simulation.
Yes.
And there could be many layers of simulation.
Yes.
Now that was kind of chilling for Dizzle. In fact, it reminds me of that Ryan Reynolds movie released during COVID, Free Guy, where the NPC realizes he's part of a programmed world with the same routine every day, then starts wanting something different. Let's recap a few key points. So Elon looks Nikhil straight in the eye and says there is some probability we are in a simulation, and he assigns a pretty high percentage to it. He uses the example of how much video games have evolved over his lifetime, from the simple Pong game to photorealistic 3D navigable worlds like Red Dead Redemption, meaning there will be games where non-playable characters will be fully developed and able to interact with us on a human level thanks to AI, the way an AI chatbot can interact with us, but better. Accordingly, Elon questions the odds that our world is the base reality and that myriad simulated realities have not already taken place, and this is simply one of them.
Say what?
Elon goes on to point out that we have plenty of reason to believe life is and will be interesting, because the most interesting outcome is the most likely outcome as seen by a third party. I'm guessing this third party means God. And he gives an example that at Tesla they run sims for their self-driving car. They would test sims for heavy winds, bad weather, and windy roads, not just a car driving on a straight road on a sunny day. So the simulator generators will always discard the boring simulations and keep the more interesting ones. So whatever you do today, please be interesting. Our very existence may depend upon this. At the end, Nikhil makes a keen observation.
And the people who simulated our world, if one were to extrapolate, they themselves might in turn be in another simulation.
Yes.
And there could be many layers of simulation.
Yes.
Thank you. Come again.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, smash that like button and click subscribe. And what do you think? Are we in a simulation? Let me know down below. It's very peculiar that this multi-simulation theory has already been taught as a multiverse theory in Hinduism for a very long time.
In Hinduism, the universe is not one single entity. There are an infinite number of universes that are constantly being created and destroyed. In other words, we live in a universe that belongs to a multiverse. A universe will ultimately die, but the multiverse lives on. Lord Vishnu is a personification of this multiverse.
So I think the real reason Elon didn't state a specific percentage chance that all of us are in a simulation now is because he actually believes we are in one, and he would have to say a number well above 90%, if not over 95%, and that is a very scary proposition to have to admit to oneself, and maybe he thinks it would scare others too. Holle molle.